So we are back, as I promised, with our deep dive. We're just currently setting up. We have a lot to talk about. I initially promised that we're going to talk about islands and how islands are especially affected by this transition and climate change and so many other things. They're pretty vulnerable, and at the same time, a lot of us, we love islands, so it's very important to look into it, but also on a more global scale, just properly understand how renewables can be a driver of supply. I want to let you know a little quote before we jump into the deep dive. So when you look at the website of ESMAP, which is the energy sector management, then you'll figure out, okay, I can't access the quote right now, but basically it explains how islands are especially vulnerable when it comes to the energy transition. I want to welcome my guests right now who will help me, and probably they can give us the insight that we need. We have on one hand Miss Gabriela Elizondo Azuela. She's the practice manager of energy sector management in assistant program at the World Bank. Before you were working for the World Bank of Latin America and the Caribbean Energy Unit, and now you are joining us here for the Berlin Energy Transition Dialogue. Also to our side we have Joachim. Mr. Goldbeck, I'm so sorry. I don't. I have Mr. Goldbeck here, who you have your own company that you run, and which is after your name. I also want to include you into this conversation. Please excuse. And I'm so excited to be doing this. I want to start with you, Miss Elizondo. I already briefly quoted the energy sector map. I want to briefly understand, for those people who might not be sure, okay, where does this go? How does this, how can somebody that doesn't know ESMAP understand what it stands for and what it does, especially in connection to the topic of our dialogue right now?
Of course, and thank you, Malcolm. It's a pleasure to be with you today here this afternoon. So ESMAP is the Energy Sector Management Assistance Program of the World Bank. It's a partnership between the World Bank and donors and multiple partners, basically donors from developed economies and philanthropies. We are very focused on supporting the universal access of energy on one hand and decarbonization as well. We have about 28, 29 technical windows focused on supporting our clients deliver secure, modern, affordable energy for all. So that's ESMAP.
Thank you so much. Mr. Goldbeck, please join us. I want to also include you to this conversation. I hope you're could help me also understand. We just saw the African-European session, and it included countries who are still developing their economy and also the energy transition. I want to know, what are your thoughts on leadership, and especially when it comes to this topic? How can this move forward in a best productive way?
Yeah, I think Africa and Europe very much belong to each other because their profiles are so complementary. You have Europe with an aging economy and money, lack of resources, lack of persons. And you have Africa with a young population, with higher demand, an increasing demand, and lots of resources, lots of sun, lots of natural resources. So combining those two would very much enable a growth for either one. Germany or Europe could help provide monies and resources and education and know-how and also places to work, and Africa could supply sun energy workforce, and both areas, both regions can complement each other. And I think it's very much should be very much the focus of the governments to support each other to actually do the steps along this way.
That sounds very sensible, but what are maybe the key factors that are needed to make this thing skyrocket, to make it really explode?
I think it skyrockets if investments take place. Investments take place if there is certainty on government regulations, certainty on legal frameworks, certainty on financing, and education. And if all this certainty is generated, then I think it can simply take off and provide all those benefits that lie within the deployment of renewable energies.
Let me bring Gabriela into this conversation as well. So we want to understand also how we talked about the African continent, but how do the Caribbean countries, the small island developing states, which are also in other regions, how do they tie into this conversation? What type of challenges do they face when it comes to the energy transition?
Thank you, Malcolm. And indeed, small island development states face very unique challenges. There are about 35 UN member states and about 20 non-UN member states, so less than 1% of the global population. They are typically isolated, they are islands. They face unique environmental, social, and economic conditions. And from the energy perspective, islands are also very much impacted by the fact that they are normally, typically fuel importers, net fuel importers, and that actually represents a high risk for them. Now that we are going through the various global shocks in energy, we are experiencing the first global energy shock after the Russian attack on Ukraine. We see how difficulties for utilities in small island development states to actually cope with these shocks. And of course, it's important to bring solutions that will allow them to have a sustainable supply. And of course, renewables, energy efficiency, battery energy storage, and other technologies will represent the best way to go with them.
What are the concrete activities that you right now are doing and advocating when it comes to helping these vulnerable regions?
So we have various initiatives at the bank, but also under SMAP. One of them is the Sustainable Renewables Risk Mitigation Facility that's supporting many countries in Sub-Saharan Africa, other regions, but also small island development states. And there are many examples. I like to give you the example of the Maldives. In the Maldives, we've been focusing on two different operations. One is the Aspire, accelerating sustainable private investment in renewable energy, and another one is accelerating renewable integration and sustainable energy. And it's becoming a very emblematic project. We are bringing renewables, battery energy storage. We are focusing on how to attract private sector participation through risk mitigation with very sophisticated three-tier risk mitigation measures, focusing on addressing the payment risk, addressing all the spectrum of risks that you find in islands. Particularly, and you mentioned this, addressing the enabling environment, making sure the procurement is strong and transparent, and focusing on innovative technology and socioeconomic benefits of bringing all of these innovations and technology.
We've heard Sub-Saharan Africa, and maybe you can speak on what the activities that you recommend and advocate and work for when it comes to the energy transition in the African continent.
Well, we've been active in a number of countries around the world, not yet in Africa. But just recently there was a political journey with politicians, with Robert Habeck in that case, to Namibia and South Africa. And we came to talk, and this is actually the good thing about those journeys. And now we are looking at a project where solar energy shall be used to produce hydrogen to then produce hot briquetted iron, actually, as a good to be exported or used locally. So I think when we talk about deployment of renewable energies in Africa, it shall not be only to extract energy and export it to somewhere so that some rich countries get richer, but it needs to be also that the local people benefit from it, from a supply of energy, clean energy, from better infrastructure, from better paid jobs to produce a more highly valued good and participate actually in the international business. So I think this is a way to go and to develop the countries while doing this on the basis of clean energies, while not destroying our country, but our world actually, but keep it a place worth living in.
Well, how is that implemented then? Because it's not always easy. We talked about in the previous sessions about like figuring out the impact, tracing how these things work, and then you've mentioned all these important things. How can you make sure, okay, or what is the best way to make sure that everybody's treated in the best way possible?
Well, first of all, I think, and I mentioned it earlier, the core thing is security. An investment takes place if there are less uncertainties. And for this, I think the governments should jointly develop strategies to give a safe environment in terms of financing, in terms of the legal framework, that there are no irregularities, no additional tax burdens or other things coming up at a later stage. And then the private enterprises can come and deploy solar or wind energies and actually bring the things forward. The politicians need to bring up a framework and a stable framework.
Okay, maybe in like 3 words, Mr. Goldbeck and Ms. Elizondo, what are like some of the things that must be addressed that people can take away with? What is something you still want to get out?
I think it's important to realize that the energy transition, particularly in small island development states and in sub-Saharan Africa and other developing economies, the energy transition is it should be a clean and affordable and just energy transition. The energy transition is not only about clean energy, it's about energy poverty, and it's about addressing the needs of the people in the planet, all the people in the planet. Not only it's about decarbonization, I think.
Renewable energies shall be the base of future development, especially in countries which are growing still, and there should be no more subsidies on all kinds of fossils or other traditional resources, but the focus should be straightforward with a bold move.
Bold moves, no longer subsidizing coal, and also focusing on human beings and making it just. Those are some of the things that we have discussed right now.